I'm Steve Henry with Wild West Aircraft, and we're doing something a little bit different today, kind of between events, a long time between races here. I'm with my friend Dell Coller with his
Monstre de Brousse is what we're calling it. So this started out as a French Air Force airplane from the 50s, a Broussard, which in French is Bushman. We're doing some modifications to this machine, so now it's going to be the Bush Monster, Monstre de Brousse.
Okay,
in this video we're going to show you kind of a big day in the build of this airplane. We're hoping to get this engine hung on the front of the airplane by the end of the day today. So it's the day for building the engine mount. Yeah, so it's been about a 2-year effort to get the airplane to this point that we see here today. When I bought the project, it was basically just a completely bare fuselage. Most of the parts were here, but certainly not all of them. These leading edges of the wing, these are a different shape. They've got like a big droop leading edge, kind of like a Horton stole. These wings were not skinned when I got to it, so I had to do all the skinning these leading edges. Had to refurb the fuel tanks, all new fuel systems, all new wiring. Obviously everything was completely stripped down to bare metal and painted. Took a lot of weight off the airplane. These were originally used for moving supplies and people. They had them set up to do aerial photography. They had several hundred pounds of avionics mounted in the back. They had things for parachuting, which is just all this extra weight with just different brackets and all kinds of stuff. So I took all that stuff out. Overall, it's looking like this is going to be 600 pounds lighter than the stock airplane.
Oh man, that's a lot.
And only 200 of that is from the firewall forward. Most of that's just from stuff in the airframe, a little bit lighter paint, just going a little bit lighter with the fabric. Some of the newer avionics saved a lot of weight. And as we work our way around the back, some of the other changes, doors on both sides now. So originally there's a hinge door here and a sliding door here. Now has 2 one-piece sliding doors that can open all the way up in flight. And when they are closed, they have 4 windows on both sides, so 8 windows total for people sitting in the back. Should have great visibility out the sides.
The visibility is an awesome thing. That's one thing I love about our Highlanders. We have such good visibility, and that's one of the most fun things about flying.
Exactly.
Having a good view.
Exactly. Added float fittings, so we'll have the capability to put it on floats if we choose to do that. A little further back, with the turbo prop engine that's going on, there's a lot more propeller. It's a lot further forward, and that can cause some instability. So generally, as you have more propeller, you have more tail surface. So I've added a 3rd vertical and rudder. So that should help with that. We'll do a little bit of flight testing. We may end up having to extend the horizontal stab leading edges to get a little bit more pitch stability. We'll see. That'll just be something we'll determine in flight testing. But kind of one of the last projects on the fuselage side is this fairing. This is originally an aluminum fairing, so I'm building a composite fairing to kind of incorporate that 3rd vertical.
Yeah.
So get that coming together. Let's see, what else do we have?
Boy, Dell, you do nice work.
I'm trying.
You do beautiful work. How many thousands of rivets do you think you've
Oh man,
plugged?
I think there's about 1,000 in each leading edge alone. So there's 2,000 just in the leading edges. There's a lot. And then there's all the screws that hold the leading edges on. I think there's about 250 screws for each one of these panels that go over the fuel tanks.
Oh man.
Just 2 of those. There's a lot of hardware.
It's a big airplane.
It is.
Compared to what I'm used to, this thing's huge.
Well, you can fit a 4x8 sheet of plywood behind the pilot seats. That kind of gives you an idea of the cabin.
Yeah.
I've had 3 full-size dirt bikes in mine, in the stock one. This should even be easier with the doors on either side. It'll make loading big stuff like that a lot easier. So looking forward to that. And then with the reduction in weight, 600 pounds lighter, and then going from this 985, this is the stock engine. It's kind of behind the bench here, but so 985, 450 horsepower. So that came off, and we're putting this on. This is a Garrett 331-10, 1,050 horsepower. So we're 600 pounds lighter and more than double the horsepower. It should be interesting.
Yeah.
One of the other things that will be kind of cool with this is we have reverse thrust on the prop.
Oh, yeah.
So you'll have that added to your arsenal of tricks.
Especially cool if you ever do put it on the floats like you're talking about maybe doing. It's so fun having lots of power, isn't it? I know you've flown a lot of planes that have a lot of power too.
It's hard to go back. All right, Saturday, Oshkosh 22.
Just about time to go. We watch it from over there. Fun.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, guys.
So these are two other airplanes I've built, and certainly with what I learned on these projects has been a huge help on this. It's a little different. These, obviously piston engines, just straight jet engines, but just some of the things I had to figure out how to do on both the Jet Waco and the Yak 110. Have helped me on this project. Some of the composite work with the elevator tips and the jet inlet on the Yak 110. What I learned with that helped with some of the composite parts I'm going to need to make for this airplane, like some of the cowling parts are going to be composite, the tail fairing that we looked at earlier. So certainly, what I've learned with these airplanes, both in the building process and then the kind of flight testing process and the changes that have to come after the first flight, I think all that experience will come in handy with this project. Especially the Yak 110, we were very pleased with how well it worked right out of the box. I mean, it for such a kind of a radical concept, even from the first flight, we're like, well, this airplane's going to be great. It just flies great. It handles great, and it's been 6-7 years on now, and it's just still doing its job, flying air shows. Just outstanding machine.
Very cool.
So this is.
I like your desk chair.
Yeah, it's a C-130 pilot seat. It actually came with this project. The guy that had it before me was planning on using these in the airplane. They're very cool, but they're quite a bit heavier than the stock seats.
Oh yeah.
So I went back to we're gonna have the stock seats in there. But yeah, this is my office chair. So this is one of my favorite new tools. It's a 3D scanner.
Wow.
Less than $1,000, and it works great. So we're on this project here, you can see I scan the engine and the inlet, which you can see on the airplane now. Mm-hmm. And then from there I was able to basically draw over on the computer the shape of this horseshoe, and then match the inlet up to the engine, the spinner. So now I can kind of put that alongside the fuselage to kind of get the idea of the shape of the cowl and whatnot, and I can kind of look at the where the engine tubes are going to be. And on this, it's especially helpful for getting like the curve of this cowl just right, so I can kind of pull it right from the scan of that inlet and just get the exact curve that I want. So it's been a really cool tool to have.
I bet.
So when I started this project, knew that I wanted to put a Garrett 331 on it. Just next door at the Hubble Airport, they had one of their Drometer spray planes that they were retiring. Basically, the airplane was getting kind of tired and harder to support, but the engine that was on it was still a good engine, had tons of time left on it. So I ended up buying the whole firewall forward. So I got all this stuff you see here, all the electrical relays, the start relays, wiring harness, fuel pump, fuel filter, oil cooler, propeller, spinner, oil tank, just everything needed to run the Garrett. Kind of came as one big package deal. The J85 jet engines that I'm used to, they're just spinning just the core of the turbine. Where this one, it's got to take that whole propeller and start it spinning because it's just a direct drive gearbox.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot more electrical power needed to get it spooled up.
Yeah, those are monsters.
They are. I think we got a good engine. Actually ran it on the airplane before we pulled it off.
Oh, that's
so I
nice.
got to actually see it run. In the instrument panel, kind of went with a Garmin G3X setup. Got the G5 and angle of attack indicator up in the glare shield. I've got that in my stock airplane also. It's really nice just to have that. It's almost like a heads-up display. It's kind of right in your field of vision. You're kind of eyes outside, but you still have your attitude, airspeed, altimeter, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Displays density altitude, which is really nice, just to have that number right in front of you every time. And then got the 2 GTX screens. They'll display all the engine parameters, obviously, charts. Got a VPX electrical control. So there's, as you can see, there's no circuit breakers. It's all electronic circuit breakers. And then we can go through here and it'll actually show the load of each. Nice. Like if I turn the nav lights on, show, okay, the nav lights are pulling 1 amp.
1 amp.
So you can see how much load each component's pulling.
Yeah.
And then if it goes over the limit, it'll pop the circuit breaker, and you can reset on there if you choose to. So I kind of went with that. It kind of integrates a lot of the components of the electrical system into one box, all your relays, all your trim indications, all that goes through this VPX box, and then it talks to the G3X, and then it kind of keeps the panel nice and clean without 50 circuit breakers.
I used breaker switches on mine, which cleaned it up considerably.
Yeah, those are nice.
Over having a breaker and a switch.
Right, exactly.
And it's less wiring. I just figure there's less connections to ever have a problem with.
Right, less weight, just less components. Yes, simpler is pretty much always better. Yes, so we got the Aeroleds on the wingtips, strobes and nav lights. We've got a beacon top and bottom. Got a tail light with the strobe, and then we'll end up with 2 landing lights, one in each wingtip.
Hi, Josh.
Aeroled landing lights. No, I don't think so.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm well.
Well, good.
I'm hanging in there. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, Dell's showing us around this awesome airplane.
He has really transformed it.
Yeah,
Look
it's
at
a little
that.
different the last
I
time we
don't
saw
even recognize it at all. Wow.
But yeah, these are 4,000 cold cranking amp batteries. They kind of initially hit it with 24 volts, and it bumps up to 48.
Okay.
It's kind of part of the start. People, we got the Grove and Precision Propeller. They've helped us out with stuff. Grove Aircraft, they did like the master cylinders and have some custom torque plates for the gear that they're building up for us.
That's helpful.
Yeah, it is. Love to get Garmin on board. There's a couple things I want to try and get done today. I'd like to get first get the engine fixtured exactly into place. And once we get this locked into position, there'll be basically just 6 tubes coming from the engine mounts up to this horseshoe.
Yep. It still needs to go up just a little bit.
That looks actually good, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like
It
it.
looks pretty darn good.
Yep. Okay, I think we can call the fuselage level and roll,
Laser was a success.
right?
Yeah, that was cool, Josh.
Yeah, step 1. And
Yep.
then we can do the same thing going this direction to get your up-down 1 degree angle, you said?
Half a degree
Half a degree, 1 degree
to the right.
to the right.
Yeah.
We can get all that with it too. So, okay, so that's check.
I think if we do this tube and this tube, then we can, if we need to fine tune it, we can do that.
Okay.
And it'll be a lot easier to get it locked into place once we get those 2 tubes in.
Sounds good.
Just about where we want it with the respect to the pitch offset. So we're just gonna get that locked in and then lock in the yaw offset. We'll be good. Yeah, actually, I'm just gonna disconnect everything electric.
Yeah. Batteries are out already too?
Right.
Yeah. So TIG welder has a high frequency start, which it's not supposed to, but potentially could fry everything in there. And
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
it's not worth it. We just go ahead and disconnect everything, take the battery out. ELTs, it'll set off ELTs too. I've had a lot of visits when I'm working on Steve's planes during TIG welding and stuff. And yeah, the ELTs, you disconnect them, take the antenna off, and the FAA still shows up. They're just there to help. It's awesome. All good. And you're comfortable with that? All right. Cool.
So then once we get the engine mounted on here, I'll put the prop on, put the batteries in, mount everything up, and weigh it again. And then if I need to shift it a little bit further forward, I'll mount the batteries as far forward as possible. If I want it a little further back, we'll move the batteries all the way back against the firewall.
How do you weigh it?
Just some like car scales. So just pick it up with this hoist, drop it down onto the scales, and then put the tail wheel on a pallet on a forklift, and just run the forklift up until it's level. So it was a little scary, but I haven't dropped one yet.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Well, the welding stores are closed because Thanksgiving was yesterday, and they didn't find this build important enough to stay open, apparently. So.
Are you available tomorrow?
Yeah.
That'd be great. Let's start for it. Let's do it.
Yeah, Steve has another week fitting an intercooler, and then he needs me after that to do some stuff.
intercooler on. You want to see it? I have other things to do, but I need to get my intercooler finally.
So I think where we left off, we were hoping to get the engine mount finished to the point where we could hang the engine on it. We didn't get quite that far. Ended up being a little finicky, getting the position locked down, and the fixturing that I had didn't hold it quite as securely as we had hoped, so it was kind of moving around on us a little bit, but eventually got all 3 or 4 axes all locked into position, and we were able to cut and notch the tubes and get them all fitted in. So that was what most of what we worked on today, getting tubes fit perfectly notched in. Got the engine mount tacked in place on the airplane, then pulled it off. We're going to do all the final welding, so it's strong enough to hold the weight of the engine. I think Josh is just about finished with that. So in a minute here, we're going to put the engine mount back on the airplane, put the engine on it, then we'll put the gear legs on, put it on the scales, and we'll see where the weight and balance comes out. So we did the weight and balance math problem to determine how far from the firewall we thought the engine should be. So we're about to find out if we did that math right. Okay. Okay, I think we're ready to go up, yeah?
Okay.
So we'll just
I'll
run
watch
those
these,
down.
yep. And you're going to manually do this, or you're going with the forklift?
Forklift, yes.
Up more. Keep going. Stop. Up a little bit. Good enough. You want a close up of the yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Ooh, wow, that prop.
Yeah, wow,
That's oh my God, that tail looks so high.
It always looks so high when you do that.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That looks straight to the other one.
Yeah, that's where it needs to be.
So not the craziest of, for such a high motor, that clearance is not a whole lot. But
Okay.
that prop is strong enough to take out most bushes. It took out my eye earlier.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I glued it back together. So I walked into the sharp edge. Walk into the dull edge if you can.
It's 13 inches.
Seems like
We
12 and a
might
half.
need the Silent 7 MT propeller.
Yeah. Do we know anybody at McFarland? Anybody? Anybody?
So where we just left off, we had just weighed the airplane. So we got the weight of the main wheels, the tail wheel, with the airplane in a level configuration. And so with that information, we also measured where the leading edge of the wing was, where the trailing edge of the wing was, the locations of the main gear and the tail wheel. So now we can kind of figure out if the weight, the center of gravity of the airplane is within the CG range that's specified for this particular airplane. We've got our airplane here, and here's our wing. And firewall forward with the engine on the front, and then we've got main wheel and tail wheel. So now we've got these locations. The tail wheel is sitting at 247 inches behind the leading edge of the wing. The main wheel is sitting at 7.5 inches. The trailing edge of the wing is 75 inches, and the leading edge, we call that 0. So now what we're looking for is the center of gravity to fall somewhere between 25 and 40% of the mean aerodynamic chord of the wing. That's just what the manufacturer specified. That's where the weight needs to be. So if our wing is 75 inches, we can take 75 times 25%, and we get 18.75. So 18.75 is our forward limit. We're going to take 75 inches times 40%, and that gives us 30 inches. So 30 inches is the aft CG limit. So when we're empty, no cargo, no fuel, the furthest forward we want the center of weight of the airplane to be is 18.75. So now we can take our weights, the main wheels are at 7.5 inches times 3,268, and the tail wheels at 247 inches times 183 pounds, and those come out to 24,510 and 45,201. We add those two together, we get 69,711. Add our weights together, we have 3451. Now we take the total moment divided by the weight, so 69,711 divided by 3451 gives us 20.2 inches. So the airplane as it sits now, with the engine on it, the propeller on it, the center of weight is about just a little under 2 inches behind the forward limit. So I think that's pretty good. If the firewall forward ends up being a little bit heavier, let's say the cowl weighs a little more than I expected, if the jet pipe ends up weighing a little bit more, we'll still be within the envelope without having to put any weight in the tail. So I'd say we're real close. All right, it's on there.
So good. So you just got it back from the powder coater?
Just picked it up like an hour ago.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and I'll get the engine in there. You can start putting all the wiring on. Run the throttle and prop controls, some fuel lines, oil lines. We'll mount the batteries, build a cowling, and we'll be done.
Wow, it's getting close.
It is. Let's see. I guess we can go look at that door, look at the tail, some of that stuff. Okay, these are the doors. So they're on sliding tracks. So it opens all the way up, so you can have a full open access to it. We'll be able to open these in flight, which would be kind of cool, especially when you have both sides open. But basically, to open it, just pops out and then slides back. This one's tight. So all the way open. And to close it, just run this forward in here and close the back.
Oh, nice.
So here's the latching pin. So pull the latching pin forward, back of the door pops out, slides open. We're closing it, slide forward, push the front in, and then get the latch and push the door closed. That's the door.
Do you think you'll have handles inside?
Yeah, there'll be a handle here that you can grab onto. Yeah, because you need to be able to kind of pull it in.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes, there'll be a handle here and then the latch.
It's simple.
Yeah, originally I thought I was going to need a pin back here, one top and one bottom. So I've got all that stuff in here. There's the pins installed on the top and the bottom. I had this whole elaborate latching mechanism with a big handle that turned and engaged 3 pins at once. But I got the door in here, and turns out it's stiff enough that it just doesn't need anything other than the 1 pin in the back. So all the ceiling and all the side panels will all be this green Kydex.
What's going back there?
So that's basically it's like a little storage area. So there'll be a cover over this. Would be basically like a leather surface on it, and then just a zipper to access this area. It's kind of just a hat shelf for lightweight stuff. And then let's see, we can come around the back. We got the rudders on. So most of the original Broussards had the French flag colors on the tail. So we decided to keep that theme, but go with the American flag colors.
Loving it.
Adds a little color back here. Guess it's hard to say when this is going to be ready to fly, but I'm going to guess 2 to 3 months. We've got the engine installation to do. Need to build the cowling, then do some engine runs and just kind of get the finalized details like bleeding the brakes and all that kind of stuff done. Get all the windows in. So a couple months still, but it's getting close in the scheme of things.